I mean, I will lead out and just say that, you know, being a black man from the South, from Texas, we always realize that there is a racial component because, you know, you're born into it. And, you know, growing up as a child, I didn't understand, you know, racism. I didn't understand being called, you know, nigger every day or being chased by people that they were much older than me, and I couldn't process it. So I used to ask my grandfather, like, you know, why are they so mad at me because of the color of my skin? I remember this, Artie. I was a kid, you know, my grandfather gave me like, you know, back then we had like gas cans. And he said, go give me 25 cents worth of gas. And I said, cool. So he lets me walk over to the other side of the tracks. And anyone who knows the Southern City, the other side of the tracks is, you know, the white side. So, but I didn't, you know, I'm a kid, so I don't know. I don't know racism. So I'm 8 years old. I get the gas. It comes up to like 18 cents, but it's 7 cents that I need to get. So I go, you know, into the actual place. But I wanted to bring the gas in because I didn't want nobody to steal it. Mm-hmm. And when I brought it in, the older, you know, white man was, damn it, nigger, why'd you bring the gas in the thing, you nigger? And I was like, hey, man, I'm 8. I remember saying, man, I'm 8, right? And I storm out, you know, and I got the gas, and I'm so angry, and I rush home, and I splashed most of the gas out. And I remember telling my grandfather, you know, he called me a nigger, so you know, my grandfather got me in the truck. We drive on the other side of the tracks, and he talked to the guy, and he said, hey, you know, this young kid, he doesn't understand what that's about, you know, that's my kid. And my grandfather was respected in the city. But it was things like that every day, you know, it was things like that, or every other day, and so that was just sort of the mentality. But when it turned dangerous, when it became I was at the Sonic Burger, and at one point we got confronted with these older white guys, and they said they heard a comment or something. And I remember a good friend of mine. I hope he doesn't mind me using his name. His name was Joel. I won't say his last name. He said he was a white kid in my class, and he says, Jamie, they have shotguns, and they will use them. And I just remember going like, wow. What would blow me away is that simply because I was born, that someone hated me. So that was a thing that when we're dealing with situations like we're dealing with Ahmaud and talking to his father, Marcus, you know, myself, RD, and Dave have been working on things called residue, where it's just the residue of the old ways in this country, you know, residues of slavery, which people don't think slavery was important, or they think it was distant. No, slavery is still today, in the sense of anytime you do something for 200 or 300 years, it becomes part of you. It becomes part of the perception of when you see a black person, you automatically feel a threat. And that image is sort of, you know, embedded in people's minds all over the world. So when it comes to, you know, the violence, it's heartbreaking, you know. Sometimes we feel like we're away from it in California, and it's not as in your face as it is in the South. But in this situation, you know, Ahmaud, it takes your breath away, man, to see that kid being killed in the street like that, because could have been us at any time. And you know, and talking with RD, and the reason RD is so significant because, you know, when we watched the footage back and talking to Marcus, you know, Ahmaud's father, RD talk about that because I saw, you know, tears come to your eyes.
You know, we want to send our condolences to the family. We had a chance to speak with Marcus today, who was Ahmaud's father, and it was tough.
Yeah.
They played football. Ahmaud played football. Marcus played football. They went to the same high school. Ahmaud was an athlete. He was a runner. He was a brother. He was a son. He said, Marcus told us a story where he had to get on Ahmaud for being too nice, for working and giving up his entire paycheck.
Yeah.
That's what kind of kid Ahmaud was. And that story brought tears to my eyes, and tears to all of our eyes.
Yeah.
And it was very, very difficult to hear that.
Yeah. And RD has an interesting story. You know, growing up, he goes to a high school that was predominantly African American, predominantly black, and you know, I would listen to him and appreciate his perspective, man. If you could shine light on, you know where you went to school and everything like that.
You know, I went to school in North Carolina at Mount Zion, and I was the only Caucasian kid at that entire school. Between all the students, all the teachers, and the day that I got there, you know, I was welcomed with open arms. I was treated with respect. I was actually looked out for.
Yeah.
Everyone welcomed me in and looked out for me. And today, I don't know why we can't do that same love, spread that same love throughout our community with everyone, and show that same respect that I received, you know, as a Caucasian going into a African American school, and was treated with the utmost respect.
Oh man, and see, and I think that's what needs to happen. You have people that are allies outside of our race, and a lot of times that's, you know, it's really helpful. RD is so solid, and you know, and what I would say, you know, he's not I would say the white guy trying to be black. He's just himself, and you know, it really meant a lot. Him, you know, he was the one who reached out, you know, got this call, and hooked it up. And as we sat and watched, you know, over our shoulder was Dave Brown. Now, Dave Brown is the son of Amos Brown, who was the biggest church in San Francisco, and was one of, you could talk about that, Dave, who your father was.
So my father is Dr. Amos C. Brown, and he's from Mississippi, and in Jackson, Mississippi, you know, of course, you know, from down south, being in Texas, you know, and being in Mississippi, slavery is, I mean, not slavery, but just racism is just outlandish. Yeah. And so my father used to, you know, his mentor was Medgar Evers. Medgar Evers, same as gunned down in his driveway, you know, but Medgar Evers took my father to Martin Luther King at the age of 15. Martin Luther King, you know, was it was at the NAACP where my father became the president of the youth group for the NAACP. So when he was talking to Martin Luther King told my father to go to Morehouse. And when he went to Morehouse, Martin Luther King came and taught one semester, and he taught 8 students. My father, Julian Bond, and 6 others. All 7 of them are gone, passed away. My father is the only one that's still alive to this day. But when you sit back and talk to my father about his times of being in Mississippi, he says there's times where you'll see people, you just go down the road and you see somebody just hanging on from a tree. And it's like, what can you do? You're not knowing anything that's going on. All you can do is just cut this kid down. You know? So there was a lot of, he said, racism down south, especially in Mississippi back then, was really, like, you couldn't be caught with a white person in the car. Or there was going to be some type of, you know, reflex or, you know, response from them, you know, wanting to chase you down with the guns and stuff. And as you, Fox, I remember you telling me the story about you going to school every day and having guns put in your face and stuff like that. And when you got to school,
yeah, I mean, well, what it was that I was exempt from classes. I was riding my bicycle. You know, I was an athlete. People knew me and everything, but I was riding my bicycle, and there's a mile stretch to get to my school where there's no turns. I'm on my 10-speed. And I hear this dually truck. You know, everybody know that dually truck. You've seen it in the movies. You've seen it in The Time to Kill. That truck pulling up, and I hear "Hey nigga," and out of the corner of my eye, I see somebody hold a revolver out, and they just click it. Now, mind you, I'm 17 years old, and it's clicking. So I dive off my bike. They drive past. I get back on my bike, and I'm hurrying, trying to get to the school, but they make a U-turn. So basically, they terrorize me the whole time doing that same thing until I get to my school. And when I get to my school, I told my principal, I said, hey, this is what's happened to me, you know, scared for my life. And my principal just simply said, well, you made it here. You're good. Fine, go to class. And so what I try to make people understand is it's just a matter of fact that that's how things are. Dave, I want to in that regard, like I said, that could have been, you know, Ahmaud. So in that regard, talk about when you're watching, because you talk so beautifully about your father.
Mm-hmm.
How were you affected by listening to Ahmaud's father speak?
Oh man, I mean, just listening to the whole thing, it just made you think. Number one, as a parent, I'm a parent, so just to see how he said I had to be strong. I had to be strong for my family. You know, I had to let my kids know that I'm going to be strong for him. He said that
for his daughter too.
Yeah, his daughter. He didn't think his daughter was going to be able to finish grad school. You know, because of the emotions that she's receiving from losing her brother, and she was the oldest. And so just watching that as a parent, just knowing you're losing somebody, and just how he kept his composure for a minute. Remember, he did it for a minute. Then he said, I'm breaking down a little right now, you know, and it was saddening, and it's heart dropping, and I had to take myself back and just think about, you know, I was raised in San Francisco, so I wasn't really dealing with racism. I think the only thing that racist that I can ever think about was being at the bus stop and a car pulling up saying, "Hey, you ends, you niggas go back to Africa." I'm sitting there going, and then one of my other
where's that?
Yeah, and so my other friend said, "You brought us here, fool." Right. You know, that's all that I received as far as racism. But then I went to college in Atlanta, and then that's when I started really understanding how racist that people were in Georgia. And so I understood that. I said, yo, sometimes you got to beware and understand that there's a lot of racism in different areas of the world.
Yeah, different areas. And here's the thing about it. We're all beautiful people, man.
That's it.
We're all humans, and now we go through this pandemic, and we see how we really need each other. But even during the pandemic, for something like this to come out, it breaks your heart. Myself, Dave, we got a chance to go down and meet with Trayvon Martin's with Sabrina and Trayvon's parents, and I met 35 other families that had gone through the same thing. They didn't get the same media coverage, but this happens a lot. And so we hope that, you know, what we're saying and how we're sitting here as brothers, black man, white man, Asian, half Asian behind the camera, we see so much good in each other, man, and we know that this is absolutely wrong. And what I tell people is we have to be fearless. We have to stand up to these bullies. We cannot allow people to condone this type of behavior, and we cannot let some people say that these people are somehow good people. You know, they're not. And you know, we have to be steadfast in it, and it's going to be scary. I predict in these next few years, the way things are going, it's going to be scary, man. But good people, good white people, good black people, good Hispanic people, Asian, and everything in between. My Muslim brothers, our Jewish brothers, all of our brothers, man, and sisters. If God, Allah, Buddha, whoever you believe in, said that we should be here on earth, that means we're supposed to be here. No one is here because they're not supposed to be. So therefore, give them that respect, because you never know when you may be in that situation, be looked at or belittled because of who you are. So, you know, we plan to do this, you know, every so often when all three of us get together and just give you our thoughts, man. And it's Foxx Talks. And that's all it is, where I get with my friends, all three of us, and we just give you our opinion on things that are going to be serious at times. And hopefully we won't have to keep doing these, but, you know, lighthearted and fun as well. But in this, we want to send our blessings. We want to send our condolences to Ahmaud and his family. And we want to keep showing love.
And not let history repeat itself.
There you go.